Good evening. I told you I would do more of these, but tonight I've decided to poke fun at something I love. I enjoy it, the opera, but I decided to have a little fun with it. The name of the opera is Prince Igor. It was written by the composer Borodin, but then finished by two other composers because Borodin had the nerve to die while writing it. And since he couldn't write it from the next world, others had to finish it. It took him 17 years to put it together because he did so much research. His other occupation was he was a chemist, like my parents. So, there's a little interest there. Well, anyway, I digress. Back to the story. The story was actually true. Prince Igor takes place in the year 1185 in a town called Putivo, which is now in Ukraine. That makes sense because the original Russian state was what's now Ukraine, with the capital at Kiev. But no, this is not the place to go into the Ukraine war or other stuff like that. Well, we can save that for another time. Okay. Having said that, this is what's going on with it. The basic story is the local prince has to go out to fight a tribe called the Polavotsians. They were Turkic people, sort of distantly related to the Mongols. In many cases, I'll say Mongol just because people understand that. Anyway, he's going to go out to fight them, winds up getting captured, comes home eventually. But what I poke fun at is all the stuff that goes on in between. All starts out, everybody's all joyful about Russia. Then bad things start to come in when everybody's frightened because there's a total eclipse. People tended to get frightened by those back then. So Igor is going off with his son and some soldiers to go fight these steppe nomads. Now, you need to understand something about the Eurasian steppe. The Russians have been there the longest and have had the longest state there. But this is the territory in the past of Huns, Avars, Goths, you name it. In other words, geopolitically, there were no defensive barriers. So, to make a long story short, you had people constantly invading one another. Well, anyway, Igor and his retinue go off to fight these guys, leaving his wife, Princess Yaroslavna, in Putivo. The only problem is there's her really obnoxious brother, Prince Golitsky, there. And it almost sounds like something out of Nell in Dudley Do-Right being tied to the railroad track. While Prince Igor is going out to fight the good fight, Princess Yaroslavna and the women of the town have been left in the clutches of the evil and thoroughly disgusting Prince Golitsky. Will Igor be able to come back from the Polavotsians to save her in time? Good question. I'm glad I asked it. Anyway, two guys deserted the army and are hanging out there getting drunk. Just you wait. Well, most of the men there are busily getting drunk and picking on the local girls who go to Princess Yaroslavna in tears, saying that her brother is helping this continue. In other words, he's allowing it to happen. It's the sort of stuff lawsuits are made of now with Me Too, etc. This is 1185. I don't think you had any of that then, especially not in a Russian state. Yeah, no. Well, anyway, she tries to call her brother on it, and he laughs, basically, what are you going to do to me? A version of you in what army? Well, after Golitsky leaves laughing at her, the boyars or the nobles of the town come to her, Princess, we have a problem. To which, in my warped view, she sort of looks at him like, you mean it's not my brother? No. The Polovotsians are coming for us. I envision two guards on the towers of the town, an older veteran guard and a rookie. The rookie looks at the older man, sniffs the air, and asks, "Look, what's the smell?" The older man smiles. "We're being attacked." With which the younger man responds with, "Well, yes, it stinks." The older man says, yeah, we're being attacked. You'll see the bodies of the attackers soon enough. The younger man looks at him like he's crazy. I don't see anybody on the horizon, and by golly, the Eurasian steppe is a long horizon. I'll take a side note and share a story. The 1934 St. Louis Cardinals baseball team, known as the Gaslight Gang, had a player named Pepper Martin, and some sportscaster asked the usual silly sports writer questions. "Mr. Martin, why do you run so fast?" And his response was, "Well, sir, I grew up in Oklahoma. Once you start running, there ain't nothing to stop you." Well, no, on the Eurasian steppe, that makes Oklahoma look tame. There is nothing to stop you. So the young man is staring at the horizon and doesn't see a thing. The older man smiles and says, "Yeah, they're probably about 30 miles apart, away from us, rather. They're on their way." "How do you know?" "Just you wait." And then eventually you see the outline of men on horses on the horizon. And that's when the younger man is frightened and basically goes to the nobles to tell them what's happening. Well, yeah. They eventually get to the walls and they wreak havoc. Mongols did this for a long time after that. The names may change, but it's still tribal, it's still nomadic, and still not very nice. Anyway, we move on. The next act is Igor and his son have been captured by the Polovotsian Khan, Konchak. In the version I saw, they had the Khan made up, with definitely East Asian looks. But they had him made up to look like, if you've ever seen Gilbert and Sullivan's The Mikado, he looked like a malevolent version of the Mikado. And Konchak keeps saying to Prince Igor, "You're my guest." Well, yes, and he's better treated than the other prisoners, but he's still a prisoner. Now Igor has another issue. Konchanova, who's Khan Konchak's daughter, and Prince Igor's son are now having a love affair. Oh, yes. Borodin, if you want to call it that, threw a bit of interracial romance in there. And a shout out to my romance writer friends who write interracial romances. There you have one. It's Konchanova and Vladimir. Okay. And Igor sees this and, of course, mumbles, "Just you wait till we get home and I tell your mother." There's all sorts of dancing and singing. This is the part of the opera a lot of the general public knows. The Polovotsian dances later became the tune that A Stranger in Paradise. Well, eventually, Igor and his son get to leave this happy camp full of Mongol-style yurts, and they get to go home. But the homecoming is happy. But I can imagine Princess Yaroslavna telling Igor, while you were out and often fighting them, you want to know what happened here? Do you really want to know what happened here? Well, it doesn't take much. You can see the things that were burned. And then Igor gets to tell her, oh, and by the way, our son has a Polovotsian girlfriend. The two deserters know they're in deep trouble because they didn't think Igor was going to survive. Well, it's never said in the opera what happens to them, but I will allow you, the reader or watching the opera, to draw your own conclusions. And again, it's a beautiful opera. What's known as Yaroslavna's lament at the beginning of the last act could make you want to cry. But I still enjoy poking fun at it because it's like, if you want to be sarcastic and daft, what could happen? Yes. Some days I was going to say I shouldn't be allowed out of the apartment, but I am in the apartment. I'm certainly going to add the Prince Igor story to my book I'm writing on. It's a very basic book on Russian history. And I'm having way too much fun with it, more than I should probably be allowed. Okay. Not sure what I'm going to do for tomorrow, but as Scarlett O'Hara would have closed with, tomorrow is another day. Thank you, folks.